And we're talking about Edmaps, which stands for Early Detection and Distribution Map. And there are several reasons why this is important, and I want to be sure that everyone understands this. So if you've got any questions about it at the end, please let me know. People ask a lot of times why it's important to report. And it is important for several reasons. One, it allows us to see the distribution of invasive plants as they actually are. And it also, that can be used for management purposes. It can be used for, especially like state parks and places like that. If they can see like they've got something coming in on the east side of the park, then they know they can focus on that area first. It helps them improve their management plans. And of course, it's public data, so anyone can use it for that. If you work in a job where sometimes the sites you visit are sensitive, as in the general public is not supposed to go there, you can make the GPS coordinates hidden where you can always see them, but on the public site, you only see the county that they're in. The Edmaps, I think right now, I checked it yesterday, there's almost 100 websites, almost 100 apps. I mean, it's 90 something on each of those websites and apps that they have worked with and created. I'm now retired from there, but I still work in conservation and as a volunteer. And the hours and locations are much better now than they were. So first detector, CEDAN, that just stands for Southeast Early Detection. And knowing where something is early on in its escape from somebody's yard or other area allows you the possibility of eradicating it immediately. If it gets to the point where it's spread, like kudzu has spread, like Japanese honeysuckle has spread, like Chinese privet has spread, we will never completely get rid of those plants in Georgia. We can manage them effectively so that they have minimum impact on natural areas. But a natural area like this beautiful place I am today is at risk from invasive species. So protecting properties like this is part of the reason it's so important. But one of the most important reasons for collecting and reporting that data is our lawmakers. Our lawmakers need to be able to see in black and white, so to speak. They want to see facts. They don't want to listen to hearsay. And if I walk out, even though I'm well qualified and everything, and I talk about a property and the amount of privet that's there, that's still hearsay to them. But if I go around that same property and document everything I have found to Edmaps, then that's real. It's something, hard numbers that they can look at. If you are out in a natural area and you're reporting to, say, iNaturalist, you can report invasive species to iNaturalist, and they share their invasive species data with us. So you don't have to have two apps on your phone to do that. You can do it with just iNaturalist or use the Edmaps app, depending on what you prefer. Okay, so let's see. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Going to try to advance this. Okay, I'm having trouble advancing it now. Oh, yeah.
I can do it for you, Karen, if you need me to.
Yes, please. This is what the Edmaps site looks like. And when I've talked about Edmaps and talked about the programs there, people ask me, and say, wow, you mean you've got your own technology people, right on campus, right there with you? Well, it's really more like these technology folks have pet biologists right where they work. So it's, it's kind of more that way. But it is an ideal situation because I can help beta test the apps they're creating. So once they've got it up and running, they can put it on my phone and I can go out into the wilds and test it and tell them what needs to be fixed or what doesn't work, as well as I would like it to, and that kind of thing. And that's actually pretty fun, seeing if you can break it. And the cool thing about it is, even if one's been released and somebody needs something changed or maybe some species added, that can actually usually be done pretty quickly and easily. So it's easy to have things adapted on an app or a website when you've got, experts in technology right there, in the office next to you. Okay. So you can download the app directly from the website, or you can download the app from Google or Apple Store, and you can just type in Edmaps and it will pull up the apps directed. Right now it is seeding. They are actually working on a lot of updates and features that will be new for the app, and that's coming up the end of March. Okay. This is what the seeding app looks like right now. And that's kudzu bugs on kudzu, both of which are non-native. So the app was created to be quick and easy to use. That was the thing at the beginning when we were starting to create these. First creating these was they weren't fast enough. I said, if somebody's hiking along a trail, they're not going to want to stop for 30 minutes while something's uploaded. It needs to be fast, if people are going to use it. And so they were able to do that. You don't have to have any specialized knowledge of GIS or any of that. The app does everything automatically for you. And you can, it lets you do specific plants. So for the Southeast, I went through and looked at the invasive plants in the Southeast, the ones that were in common with the Southeastern states, excluding Florida, because they have all different issues. And that's how the plants were chosen that are in the app. They had to be limited just because there's so many invasive plant species, unfortunately. But I think that's one of the things the new app will take care of, that you'll be able to add species you want to collect data on in the area that you're in. And when you first open the app, okay, if you will go ahead. So these are the different states in the Southeast that collect data. I'm not sure that all of them actually quite qualify for the Southeast, but they're all on board. And that's just for the seeding app. There's also apps specifically for Alaska, specifically for the Northeast, specifically for North Central, specifically for the Pacific Northwest. So there's specific apps for different areas. They all work about the same. The biggest difference is the species within them. Okay. This is what the website would look like. And the first thing you're going to do is click there in the top right-hand corner and create your free account. This is through University of Georgia. It's the Center for Invasive Species and Ecosystem Health. And we are on South Georgia campus here in Tifton. So everything that we've got out there is free. So all of the websites are free to use, that you have the availability to, and the apps are free to download and to use. Reporting the data is free. Pulling the data back out for a project you're working on is free. So that's probably the best deal you're going to get out there with apps right now. Okay. So this is what it looks like. To register, you don't have to fill in everything, but at least your name and email or name and phone number, a way to contact you. And so if there's something we have a question on, we need to be able to find you. Okay. All right. So on the left-hand side there, you see a long form, and that's how you can report from the website. This does give you the ability to add a little more detail than the app does. Or maybe it's just a little easier to do it than from the app. But again, they've got changes coming up, and it's a free webinar they're doing the end of the month. So if anybody's interested, they can join in. And that looks like a long form to fill out, but it's really not that difficult. There's like that whole top section it's like divided into 3 sections. So it's basically 3 things you do, and that's it. So the first thing, if you know the common name of something, or if you know the scientific name of something, even if you're not sure how to spell it, if you can input the first 3 letters, it will pop up anything that starts that way. So we'll pop up a list for you. And you can just then click on the species in the list that you want to report. Okay. So first thing you're going to do is take the species and add that. This is automatically going to put today's date in it, but if you collected the data 3 days ago, you can change that easily enough. And it's going to ask you some basic questions, like how much space did it cover? So if it's one mimosa tree, then that's not covering a lot of space if you're not seeing any others coming up around it. But if it's 10 acres of privet, that's a lot different than if it's one privet plant. So it allows you to make those kind of distinctions. And you do not have to enter anything for any of that you're looking at. If you don't understand what it is, you don't have to fill in all the blanks. Again, the name of the species, the date, the location, those are the basics that you need to add in there. And if you hover over one of the little question marks on any of the boxes to fill in any of the text areas, it will pop up a little box with an explanation or definition of what you need to add there. Okay. This is the location where the location data is put. And I just love this. If you've got the GPS coordinates, you can add those in. But if you don't have the GPS coordinates, but you are walking through a park and you know the area, you can even, on the left-hand side, add the county. You don't have the GPS coordinates, but you can add the county, state and county, and it will zoom you into the center of that county. And you can move the cursor around on the map and zoom in until you find the exact spot. And when you click it, letting it know that's the exact spot, it will automatically populate the GPS coordinates for you. I love automatic. There's also areas there to add any notes that you need to add that would give you additional information on locating it, because GPS coordinates often can be off just enough that what you're looking for is difficult to see. But if you added something like, it's to the right side of the trail at this location, that would narrow things down and help somebody going in to do a management on that plant locate it more quickly and easily. Okay. This allows you to add up to 5 images, and the apps also allow you to add images, as you'll see in just a minute. You upload the image, and you can upload also, is this a leaf? Is this a flower? What structure of the plant is it? And if it's an insect you're reporting, the questions will be just a little bit different than, like you don't need to say if it's a tree or a shrub. If it's an insect, they'll ask you questions specific to the kind of organism you're submitting the information on. And it will also have, you can put the name of the photographer here. So if you're going out with a group and collecting data together, you know, if John submitted the image or took the image you're submitting for this population or this image even, and Bob submitted this next image, then they each can be given credit for their image. Also, if you submit this information to an herbarium and you send in an herbarium sample, then you can record which herbarium it was sent to here. One of the interesting things we found is that Georgia is a desert for floral reporting, evidently. You can look on websites like BoneApp and websites like Edmaps, and things will be in South Carolina or North Carolina. It'll swing down through Georgia, and when it starts to swing down through Georgia, hits the Georgia line and it disappears. And that's simply because we're not reporting like the other states are. It'll curve around and come back up into Tennessee, and all of a sudden you cross the Georgia line back into Tennessee, and boom, you know, you can see where the species is again. And this isn't just for invasive species, this is for native species too. And this is something that the Georgia State Botanical Society is working on helping with. So if you're interested in helping with that, you could join the Botanical Society and help out. Although you can definitely submit things even if you're not a member of any of the groups. Okay, Eamon. This is your personal Edmaps page, and you can, it will show just some fun statistics, like how many species you've collected, how many different species, how many different actual sites you submitted. So you might have submitted information on 100 different sites of privet. So that would be one species, but 100 different records. Or you might have submitted on a property you're going through privet and Japanese climbing fern and air potato. And so you may have submitted 10 different species, but there's just one report for each species for the property. And you can do it either way that's more convenient to you. And it just, what you put in the notes and how you submit it gives you that flexibility. If you're wanting to manage some land, if you've got some property, you're submitting that data and you want to narrow it down to your information, this is a place you can go to do that. One of the places you can go. Also, on the right hand, the bottom half of it, those are the most recent records that you have submitted. So if you went out and submitted and there's extra things you want to add, you can find these quickly and easily this way. You don't have to do a more difficult search. They're right there ready for you. Okay, Eamon. This is just real quick. It shows you how all kinds of different ways that new reports are submitted, online web forms, the smartphone apps. Somebody can be on a different website, but they want to have data submitted too, so they can embed one of our reporting sites into their website. And don't ask me any more about it because that's all I understand. But there's also like the Texas Invaders program gave us a bunch of data from their apps from the collections that have been submitted to them. And we were able to receive that as bulk data. And then people just going out and collecting data and reporting it individually. Those are single reports, and that creates a new report there. And next. And this shows you where each new report can be used. So the first thing it decides, is it regulated or not regulated? And so a few plants are, a lot more of the non-native insects are regulated. So it depends on what's being reported. If it's regulated, an email is going to automatically be sent to the correct state agency, the contact that they tell us to use, federal agency, whichever one it is. So they get a notification that this regulated species has been found and where it's found. If it's not regulated, then it goes to a species verifier and wherever it is. So we've got people who verify reports just for Georgia with the plants. And if it is an insect, for example, then there is a DNR person, an entomologist, who will look at those and verify it. If it's a reptile or amphibian, there's a DNR person who will go through and look at it and say, is that really a Cuban tree frog? No, that's really one of our native frogs. So not something we need to be concerned about. So, and across the US and Canada, there's people throughout who do that. So reports are being submitted across the United States, up into Alaska as well, and through Canada. Okay. So once they've been verified and released, those reports, some of those happen very quickly. Some of them are seen immediately. And, but even if they're not public yet, you can see them on your personal Edmaps page. When you go there, those most recent reports you've done will be there. And so these are different things that can be used for, showing the state distribution, county distribution, the ArcGIS or custom maps that can be pulled in all different kinds for different purposes. Amen. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next one. That's Chinese tallow tree, in case you're curious there behind it. Okay, as we all know, smartphone apps are way more than just a smartphone. There, you can play music, you can take pictures. I mean, the cameras now, whoever sells cameras, I feel really bad for, because, you know, not too many people are going to spend the money for a special camera when a smartphone does such a good job taking pictures. You can have all kinds of apps on it that allow you to do things like, it makes it act like a compass, a GPS compass. So if you're trekking through the woods, you can always stay on course using that. And it allows you to do things like reporting. Okay. And so the Sedens app specifically, all of our reporting apps include a camera. So you don't have to go to the website to upload images. You can upload them directly in through the app. Included also are distribution, the GPS coordinates. So when you're standing there looking at a privet that you're going to submit a report on, you can take pictures of it, both kind of showing the plant as a whole, showing whatever individual characteristics you can see. For example, the leaf, a stem, and how the leaves are arranged on the stem, because whether it's one plant or another can be as simple as looking at how the leaves are attached. Are they attached oppositely or alternately? So even if somebody sent me a picture just of that, I could tell you, is it Chinese privet or is it not? Chinese privet, the leaves are attached oppositely. So if somebody sent a picture with the leaves alternate, I would know immediately that's not Chinese privet. Notebook, so that you can add any information you need to in there. And again, information on how to locate it. Also information like, are these all young plants, which makes them a lot easier to manage than if they're mature plants producing seed every year. And all young plants, you might be able to wait a year or two to take care of them. But if it's a mature tree spreading seed every year, you might want to take care of that more quickly. They include a field guide. And I have a feeling, because of things we were discussing before I retired, that this is one of the changes. But the field guide was the part I worked on while I was working there. And we chose about 300 species for the Seeding app, 300 plant species for the Seeding app. And in addition to just being able to report them, if you pull up, say you're looking for privet, you're pretty sure the leaf looks right, but how do you tell for sure? Well, you go to the field guide and you find privet and then click on the eye. That's for more information. That will pop you into the field guide, and you will be able to read a description of privet. So it will say in there that leaves are attached oppositely, and it will include anywhere from 1 to several pictures for each species. And so I would be very careful to choose images which show those identifying characteristics for you. So you're in the field, that allows you to help identify it. But even if you're way off base and you're wrong on what you're submitting, that's okay, because somebody that is able to do those identifications are going to check your report. So if it's not what you think it is, if it's something native and not invasive, you'll just be notified of that, and it's no big deal. We would way rather have some reports submitted that will be removed later, which is very easy to do, than to have no report submitted. You know, if you reported 100 made 100 reports and 10 of those have to be deleted, hallelujah, that's 90 reports we've now got that we didn't have before. So that's something very easy to deal with. So never be worried about, is it the right species, or be worried about that you're causing trouble. We need individuals out there collecting and submitting data. We know that a large percentage of those individuals are not botanists, and they're not entomologists, and they're not herpetologists. So that's okay. Submit the data and we will check it and make sure it's correct. Okay. So this is, when you first click on it, this is what you're on the left-hand side there. That's the menu, things that you have. If you would go ahead. Thank you. And you can see you've got different choices here. And so you can choose species by category, which means you can choose plants, insects, so on. That's going to show the category. Also, when you choose plants, it's going to let you choose a tree or a shrub or herbaceous plant or a grass. So you'll be able to choose things like that too. And also on the right hand side of one of these pages, looks like a little box with an arrow pointing up. That's your upload queue. So when you've collected, 25 reports, it will show 25 right there. Now, what we recommend, you can set it to upload while you're in the field. So as you're collecting data on it, as soon as you submit it, it's trying to upload it into the website, into the database. The issue with that is that if you're out in a wild area, your reception may not be that great. But if it's uploading them automatically, or you're telling it to upload there, it can run your battery down, because until it's uploaded, it's going to keep trying to upload it. And if your reception's cutting in and out, that can drain your battery very quickly. So you can very easily wait until you get back to the office and tell it to upload once you're connected to Wi-Fi. If you have limited data, that's another reason to wait till you get home or get back to the office and then tell it to upload over Wi-Fi. That won't use any of your data and it won't use your battery up. It's terrible to get out into the middle of a property that you've just trekked an hour to get into and lose your iPhone because the battery ran out. Okay. Okay, and this is just what I was describing: aquatics, grasses, herbs, and so on. There's insects and other wildlife is included as well. Okay, if you will advance it. This is what the field guide looks like. So you can see if you chose Japanese climbing fern, there's the description, and you can scroll down to see the complete one. And I think there's 4 or 5 images. So you would just swipe left or right, depending on which direction you want to go to see which image it is. Also, go ahead. That was good. Also, if you find like a field just covered with mimosa trees, for example, or covered with calorie pear, you can actually pull up a map that shows all of the data that's already been submitted for that species. And you can zoom into the area where you are. And if it already shows that a report has been made on that, you can click actually and see the actual report. And so that could save you a little bit of time. You could say, oh, look, Susie's already submitted that one, so I don't need to worry about it, and go on your way. And I know that another thing they were working on the newer apps was adding an alert. So if you're in an area and you click to, for a privet, it might say, a report has already been submitted from that area, and it'll pull it up for you so that you can look and see and be sure you can determine whether this is a different site or whether it's the one that's already been reported based on what they're telling you. Okay. So the actual reporting form looks like this, and you've already told it which species you want. It's automatically collected the date and time for you, and it automatically is beginning to collect the Latin long for you, the GPS coordinates for you. And you would click on the little camera icon there to take pictures, and it'll give you a choice. Did you take pictures of it with your camera as you were walking up to it? But you want to wait till you get right to the infestation before you start getting the GPS coordinates on it. You can also, if you can see like a huge stand of bamboo on the opposite side of a stream or creek, but you don't want to walk across to get there, you can actually pull up a map and choose the exact spot that you're looking at, and it will populate the GPS coordinates that way for you. And not only will it populate the GPS coordinates for you, but if you've drawn a rectangle or a circle or something around the infestation there, it will populate like how many square feet, square meters, acres, how much is what the area was, will automatically populate that for you. Time spent in minutes. So a lot of folks who are submitting data, if they're a volunteer with like master gardeners or something, it helps for them to be able to show how much time they spent doing this. And so that's why that was added. And okay, so that's it. Okay, and you've got a choice. Do you want to report a point or a polygon? And a polygon is just any shape with 3 or more sides to it. And you can report it either way. If it's like one mimosa tree, you might want to report it as a point, where if it's a field full of mimosa trees, you want to report it as a polygon. And, you would just touch whichever way you're doing that. Also, as you're doing a polygon, you can do it by points, and you would click on each point, and then it'll automatically outline those for you. Or you can do freestyle. Okay, the next slide. And there you can see on the left where the points have been joined. The freestyle, you just take your finger and draw it around the infestation, showing how much. And again, that will automatically import the GPS coordinates and the area for you. Okay. Like I said, I love automatic. And these are used, apps that we're creating are used for all kinds of things, not only collecting data for invasive species, but also apps specifically for forestry and agriculture. Some of them, like if you're growing cotton, it will give you best recommendations for treatment or management of that crop. Okay. I think we're about at the end here. I think we'll call it quits. There's also, of course, different field guides. Just kind of go ahead and work through those. Okay, go ahead, go through. You can pull it up and look at maps. You can see how far widespread something is. People can use it to create maps on their websites. This is really cool. I have no idea how they do this. I don't really understand the mechanics of it, but if a different website wanted to have an information on, say, Polygon grass, they can actually copy the embed and put it into their website. And not only will it show the current population of the Polygon grass, but as reports continue to go in and the population grows, it will keep your map updated. That just sounds like pure magic to me, but you know, these guys are really good at what they do. Our tech people are. Okay. And that's what it looks like. So you can do a static map, you know, it's just a one-off map. It's going to stay the same. Or like I said, the dynamic maps. And as I mentioned before, this is not just a Georgia problem. It's not even just an American problem. This is a worldwide issue. All around the world, anywhere plants and animals survive, this has become a serious issue. Okay. And go ahead and click through these. So all these different places, they're all battling it. And see, everyone is wanting, and okay, this is the summit that's coming up the end of March. You can join in to this for free. You do need to register, but it's free. And they will give you all of the updates. So now you have a general idea how the apps work and how easy they are to use. They were designed to be intuitive so that a non-expert can submit data. You know, you don't have to have specialized training. I don't have GIS training. You don't have to have that to be able to submit reports. Okay. Any questions?